No, I'm not saying that I'm trying to read 30 books in 30 days or 31 days because that would be crazy, right? I have tried that before. I've tried to read 30 books in a month, and it's never been accomplished. Not by me. Britta is doing it, Heidi's doing it, and they've inspired me. They've inspired me to try. But I know it's not possible, not with my lifestyle the way it is. So I'm not going for it. But man, wouldn't I love to be able to read 30 books, especially 30 decent to great books in a month. That would be fantastic. So I've started off. Today is August 5th, and I have 3 books. One that I have finished. I started reading it in July. I finished it in August. And 2 books that I have started since the month began and almost finished with. So I'll chat with you guys about those 3 books. And then I have some other things that I'm poised to start over the weekend, I think. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited about all the reading things. So the book that I started in July and just finished maybe 2nd of August or thereabouts was Revolutionary Road by, is it Richard Yates? I was buddy reading that with Columbus and Rosalie, and man, I really, really enjoyed that book, a lot more than I expected to. It is a story about 1950s white Americana, which I don't know too much about, but it's a character study about a man and his wife, Frank Wheeler and April Wheeler, and they're in their 20s, although they're living in the suburbs, and they seem to be occupying the lifestyles of people who, I mean, maybe not we, but I assume would be older. So when I read that he was about to celebrate his 30th birthday in the book, I was like, what? He's only 29. But they're definitely having the ennui that settles around midlife, at least in our experience. Thinking about, dissatisfaction with their lives, their lifestyles, the non-realization of dreams that they had. And so the book opens with April being involved in a community play. And although they have prepared for this, it seems like they've put a lot into preparation. The actual play, the actual performance is not as they wished it had been. So her dreams of being an actress are not being realized. And then the other things that she thinks about, your daddy's cleaning the car. The other things that she's thinking about doing with her life seems like there are roadblocks at various points. And so we get to see a little bit of how this couple reacts to the crises that they're both facing. Frank and his dissatisfaction with his job, and April and her failure at acting, and how it weighs on their relationship, how they deal with conflict, how they deal with stress in their marriage. And so for a big part of the book, a big part at least of the beginning of the book, we're reading from kind of the perspective of this young man. And then later we start to get a little bit more of the perspectives of other characters. Minor, it seems, characters, but people who definitely add to the stress that this couple is facing, and who, because of their own thoughts, we get to see a little bit of the external processes that are weighing on this couple. So I really, really, really enjoyed this. Book is set in Connecticut, in the suburbs in Connecticut in the 1950s. And Frank is a businessman and his wife is a housewife. And so we get a little bit of that life that I think we associate with that time period. Maybe a little bit of the kind of Mad Men experience that Frank has in his job. And I didn't watch that show, by the way, but I feel like that's what it was about. Just very quintessential 1950s white Americana is how I would sum up this book. But such a character study, and I really thoroughly enjoyed the writing, thoroughly enjoyed the book until the end. There's a character who has some mental illness, and we get to see a little bit of his perspective, how he is the voice of reason in some situations, and how he calls to question some of the things that the other characters are doing or thinking about doing. And so it is this comparison between mental illness, or as the author talks about it, insanity, and what people who are considered to be sane do, and whether or not that is insanity. And a very interesting line in the book where one of the characters talks about the definition of insanity being the inability to love. And I thought that was just such a point of reflection. You're fine, climb up. So yeah, really enjoyed that book. So that was what I'm considering to be my first finish for August, even though I read the bulk of it in July. Other things that I've started since the beginning of the month include Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred Taylor, and I'm about halfway through it. I thought I would be done by now because it is pretty short. It is only about 275 pages. You have a boo-boo? I'm so sorry. You want some juice? Okay. Okay. Here you go. Other things that I have started since the beginning of the month include Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred Taylor, which is pretty short and it's a children's book. I thought I would be done by now, but I kind of put it aside to read some other things. But I'm really enjoying this. Again, we're reading about mid-century, mid-1900s from the perspective of a child. This book won the Newbery Medal Award in 1977. It was published in 1976. So we're reading about a young girl named Cassie and her siblings growing up somewhere in the South. I can't recall now which state they're in. And it is how they are processing the things that are happening in their lives, the racial discrimination that these children and their families and their wider community experiences, and how these children react to it. Understand? Ready? We're making a video. Did you say hi to your friends? They can't see your hand all the way down there. Say hi, friends. Okay. So we see very explicit racial discrimination as it is experienced and understood by these children and their families and their wider community. So some of the things that we see happening include the segregated school system and the black children having to walk to school and the white children having buses that take them to school. And because it is a children's book, we see these children being their own heroes, and so they take matters into their own hands to react to the discrimination that they're experiencing. So it's kind of an anecdotal style of writing where we move from one thing happening to these children and how they process it to the next thing that they're dealing with. So it's these children, the siblings, as well as the neighbor who's kind of an antagonist, even though he's their friend in some ways. He's always getting up to mischief or creating mischief for these siblings. And of course, we see the relationship between these children and their parents and their grandmother who lives with them. And the father is away at work, and we get him being, he gets brought into the story because he appears a few times. But also more of, we hear about him, a little bit of a hero worship of this man who is a provider, and he's not always home, but we know why he's away. And so, you know, he has a very distinct and respected role within the family. So I really like that. I really like the values that this author is projecting in this book. So thought I'd be done by now, but I'm not, because I'm taking it kind of slowly and really enjoying it as I'm reading it. So yeah, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. Also really love this cover. Chapters. This one also has a very interesting style because it's a... Okay. How about, can mommy finish before you start to sing? When we finish, then we sing. All right? Okay. The other book that I have started is Maria Jose Ferrara's novel, How to Order the Universe. This is Women in Translation. I'll put the translator's name on here. And I really like this. This is also being told from the perspective of a child with very short chapters. I think maybe to mimic the child's attention span, because I am realizing child attention span not so great, right? But it's also a really delightful novel. I love a few of the passages. Like, I've taken snapshots of them. I'm reading an electronic copy from my library. And so we're reading about this girl. I think she's maybe about 7 or 8. And her father is a traveling salesman. And so she's going through the experience of a traveling salesman. It doesn't seem like there are any saleswomen. It's the experience of traveling salesmen and what they do and how they work. And she is applying those lessons to her life. She's also getting a really unique opportunity to witness the job of the salesman, because her father has taken her on a lot of his work trips. And this book does something really interesting in that she calls her father by an initial. She calls him D, and all the men that she meets, we don't get names, we just get initials, and I'm not sure why that is, but a lot of the things that she notices, the things that she speaks about, the objects in her life, also get related to items in the catalog that her father sells from. So her father sells items for hardware stores. It's Daddy. You want to follow him? Go. So one of the things that she does, which I think is just kind of cute, is that she processes the world through this hardware catalog, which is the catalog that her father sells from. So a lot of the objects that she sees and notices and speaks about, they are from the catalog, or at least they get associated with the catalog. And I think that's just so delightful. There are lots of really insightful passages as she's learning about the world and making comparisons. I don't know, darling. I wasn't over there, so I didn't see it. Tell me what it is. Can you describe it? What does it look like?
It's a bee.
And
it's a bee.
It's a bee.
It's not going to hurt you.
It's not going to hurt you, no. So those are the 3 books that I've been reading this week. Really enjoyed Revolutionary Road. Also really enjoying the 2 books that I'm currently reading. So yeah, would love to chat with you in the comments down below. Let me know what you've been reading this week. If you're reading something for Women in Translation, what your title is. You know, unless of course you told me, commented on the previous video, then you don't have to do that again. Tell me something else. And I hope you'll come back for the next video, which hopefully will be soon. Until then, give this video a thumbs up. Let's chat in the comments, and until next time, happy reading. Bye. You say bye?